Welcome to the Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, America's largest off-road racing series for motorcycles and ATVs. As you can see behind me today, it's motorcycle racing. And not just any racing, but the best racing in the world. The best off-road riders have gathered here, Crawfordsville, Indiana, for the Ironman GNCC. The toughest, the longest, the most prestigious race in this entire 14-race championship tour. Today, the riders will be battling creeks, mud, hills, dirt, rocks, every type of terrain a rider could possibly imagine. And they'll also be battling each other, the stiffest competition in the world. I'm your host, Jason Wagan. We'll be in the pits, on the track, and right here at the start to show you everything there is to know about the Ironman GNCC. Take a look at some of the contenders for the win today. Number one is Barry Hawk. He was last year's GNCC champion, but he had some bad luck midway through this series to take him out of defending that title this year. Had to hand the title over to the 40-year-old veteran on the Suzuki, Rodney Smith. There's Rodney Smith, and a very experienced, very calculating rider, but he can also go very fast when he needs it. See him flanked by his wife, Lori, very well-oiled machine. There's the number three of Mike Lafferty. Mike Lafferty, of course, had bad luck of his own at the beginning of this season, but he wants to make up for it with a win today in Indiana. Now, all the riders are going to have to face very, very muddy conditions. That's Doug Blackwell. Earlier we saw Steve Hatch. All these riders are going to have to deal with a lot of mud from the rain we had yesterday. It's the dead engine start. As soon as that green flag waves, they kickstart the machines, and the Ironman GNCC is underway. Smith in the 31 with a good jump, but it looks like coming into that first corner, well, riders sliding all over, but just sneaking into our camera at the bottom is the number 5, Fast Fred Andrews out of Ohio, grabbing the early lead here in Indiana. This field, it's going to narrow down quick. They're in a wide open section, but you've got to get yourself in position before you hit the woods. There's Smith in third, battling with a rookie, Charlie Mullins, and there's Hawk, and there is Lafferty. Lafferty, got to make up some spots before they get in the tight stuff, because it's a lot harder to pass once you're inside the woods. Let's see what happens when they get in here. It is still Andrews out front, and this is what GNCC is all about. Very tight wood sections, very calculating riding. You cannot hang it out in here. If you make a mistake and hit one of those trees, those things do not move. So Hawk, and there's Lafferty right behind him, have got to be smart as they try to keep in check with this man, Fred Andrews. Get a little encouragement from the spectators. We've got 3 riders from Ohio running 1, 2, and 3. Good day for the Buckeyes, but this is a 3-hour race, and anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. You see this freight train, everyone trying to stay in position, everyone trying to be there at the end, and then put on a sprint to try to win this race. There is Andy Shea. He's at the back of this freight train. And he just fell a little further back, actually. He runs into it looks like a down log, and then falls again. Some encouragement from the spectators, and he's got that Kawasaki fired back up, but a tough start to this one for the youngster, another Ohio rider. Now here's the old guy from Ohio. Andrews is a veteran, won this title all the way back in 1993, but he has been a strong contender ever since. Bad luck this year, but he wants to win out here in Indiana. The freight train already starting to break up. Riders already trying to put themselves in position to maneuver into the lead, and look, Lafferty's doing just that. All over Andrews. Lafferty's moved in the second, and he's trying to make the move on Andrews for the lead. We're going to check our Yamaha leaderboard. Andrews, Lafferty, Woodford, Hawk, and Smith. Those are the 5 to watch, and we will be back with more after this. Welcome back to GNCC Racing. It's Grand National Cross Country. We're in Indiana. This is the largest off-road series in America for motorcycles, and these are the best riders in the world charging toward your camera. Everyone trying to stay in position. The leader right now, Mike Lafferty out of New Jersey, just took the lead during our break, but he is known for getting good starts and getting up front early, and he's doing that right now. The rest of these guys wish they were where Lafferty was. Here is Lafferty making his way through this canyon, and now we're starting to see some of the very difficult sections. He's got a mud bog and a hill climb, and this is really, really gnarly. Look at the different lines. There's Rodney Smith, your new champion, on the left side. Barry Hawk on the right. Robbie Jenks bouncing over. Oh, and Charlie Mullins goes down. There's some exposed roots, but right now, early in the race, these riders cannot pre-run these tracks. There's no practice. The very first time they see the track is when they race it, and that's why some of these obstacles can sneak up and grab even the best riders in the world. There is the 7-Eleven of Josh McLeavy, barely able to get over that hill. This is Cole Calkins, barely able to get to the top. And all that mud from the bottom is now being dragged up that hill climb. It's going to get very, very slippery. And you know what's worse? Each time a rider gets through this section, they dig it out more. It gets rougher. Oh, and another rider going down there. It's only going to get worse as the day goes by. That's what makes this series so tough. And that's why the winner of this race can truly call himself the master of the Ironman. Right now, Lafferty doing the best job. You hear that big KTM four-stroke. It looks like Smith has now moved past his teammate, and he is now in the number 2 spot. Then it's Andrews, then it's Hawk, and those 4 appear to have broken away. They want to make this as private a duel as possible. The more riders you have to worry about, the more difficult it is. You want to concentrate on the track and not the competition. But right now, these 4 just trying to put themselves in position. Let's see if Hawk can mount a charge. You know he doesn't like seeing those 2 Suzuki guys in between he and Lafferty. Lafferty known for being a good hard runner early. Now this is another Suzuki rider, Doug Blackwell, getting through the creek. And this is a very tough situation for Blackwell to be in. Did not get the good start, and now he has to try to hang it out, try to make up time on a track that he is unfamiliar with. No practice, no pre-running. Everyone is riding blind at this point, and this is a very tough section. It's the Twin Hills. Lafferty being challenged by Smith. Lafferty goes one way, Smith goes the other. Andrews picking the middle, and all the way on the right, that is Hawk. Several different ways to negotiate this section. And that is Woodford, Chuck Woodford, going over the bars, and he takes out Charlie Mullins' wit. Unbelievable. Mullins ran right into the rear fender, and here is a replay. Look at what happened. There's a root under leaves, and Woodford had no idea that was there, and that sent him flying. Luckily, he was able to recover, get back to his feet, and does not have to worry about injury, and now here's Woodford scaling that hill again. So Woodford, well, he could have taken help from the spectators there, but he elected to go back to the bottom. Look at how that one little tree root is throwing all these riders off of their path. There's Scott Summers, the veteran, Steve Hatch, all these guys bouncing off of that thing. Their fate's a little bit better than Woodford, but I'll tell you, the next time around, they're going to know better than to go to the extreme right side as we see it. Meanwhile, back up front to our leader, it is still Lafferty, very comfortable, leading. Some guys, like Smith right now in the number 2 spot, he's a calculating guy. He likes to hang out and follow the leader. Lafferty likes to be the leader, so everybody thinks their strategy is going to work out best. It's going to come down, I'm sure, to one of these 4 guys. They've already established a lead. They're able to save a lot of energy by just following each other. Now, a guy like Woodford here in 5th, he had the crash. He's got to try to make up time. He's got to hang it out. And it is very physically demanding GNCC racing. So if you have to hang it out and make up time, you're going to waste energy, and that's going to come back to haunt you later on. Look at this. Blackwell spinning sideways, trying to find any little piece of traction he can, because he knows those 4 guys up front are getting away. He's got the charge. Everyone thinking the same thing. Try to get to the number 3 rider out front. Lafferty now taking his first tour through the pits. One of the few opportunities on this track for these guys to actually get some rest. Later on, they'll be stopping for gas, for goggles, for new gloves. We skip ahead now. No rest in this section. We look at our Yamaha leaderboard. Very rough, very chopped out. Lafferty, Andrew Smith, Hawk, and Charlie Mullins. That is your top 5. As I mentioned, a very chopped out, very rough section of the racetrack. Everyone's struggling, and it's only going to get worse as more riders come through there. They're going to make those bumps and those holes and those jumps even larger. And look at how Woodford has to fight that machine. Here is Lafferty in a field section. Another good opportunity to get some rest. You hear him clicking up through the gearbox. He's got 5 gears on that KTM 450, and he will get it up to about 60 miles an hour through that field section. Andrews now back in a second. Then it is Smith, and then Hawk. Hawk does not look to be as aggressive as these other 3 guys. It looks like he's content right now to be in 4th, to follow them, to watch them, and he will let his endurance play a factor later on in this game. It is spectacular racing, though. This is what it's all about in GNCC. Tight woods and tight racing for the number 1 spot. Lafferty's built up a small lead right now, and he's got to rely on those spectators to point out the best lines through. They've been hanging out there all afternoon. They know where to go. Hawk, meanwhile, he's left to just guess. He has no idea what's under that water there. He picks a line all the way to the left side and struggles now to get momentum and get to the top of that hill. Where are the Suzuki boys? It is now Andrews and then Smith, so jockeying back and forth and back and forth. Look at Smith's technique here. He is incredible how he's able to stay seated on that bike, saves energy, gets traction. Normally you want to stand up for balance, but his balance is so good, he can sit down in sections where other guys have to stand up or dab their feet like you see Mullins have to do there. So a lot of different techniques, a lot of different things to think about when you're racing GNCC. Now here is Woodford. He's taking a line to the right side. Very hard to get traction. McLeavy trying to claw for it. Let's give a chance to give a call to some of our sponsors. GNCC Racing Across, brought to you by Yamaha Motorcycles and ATVs, Maxxis ATV and Motorcycle Tires, Moose Racewear and Off-Road Accessories, Klotz Performance Lubricants, and Wiseco Performance Pistons, all bringing you GNCC Racing, and we'll have more of it right after this. Back to GNCC Racing. We are at the Ironman. Mike Lafferty trying to paddle his way through a very muddy spot. Now under pressure from the number 1. Barry Hawk, he's healthy, he is ready. He's going to have to give up his championship today, and he is not happy about it. He wants to go out a winner. Now looking on the left side of your screen, that is Andrews trying to make up time, dealing with some lap traffic, and listen to Andrews wind out that RM250. Hanging it out over the edge. Andrews knows he cannot let Hawk and Lafferty get comfortable racing each other. He's got to try to catch them. But it is dangerous to hang it out through a section like this. You see Mullins dabbing his foot all the way to the left side of your screen. That is Woodford. It is so dangerous to charge through slippery terrain, especially when you have slower lap traffic in front of you. All right, here's Lafferty trying to get away again. He had a nice size lead. Hawk pulled back up on him. Meanwhile, we have a report. Rodney Smith's out of this race. What happened?
Nothing really. I just riding around and I was sitting there in third, fourth position, and my heart wasn't in it. I knew the championship was over, and I was here just to do what I needed to do. And once the gate dropped, it was official. I was a champion for this year, and the pace that those guys are running up front, as muddy and ruddy as the track is, we were really pushing it, and my heart just wasn't in it. I knew it was over. There was no reason for me to win this race, and I didn't really feel comfortable. We were clipping some trees and ruts and stuff out there, and I was just thinking too much about the championship that I already won, and I just didn't really want to take any more chances, and I didn't need to. I've done my work all year.
Well, Rodney Smith out of this one, but do not let that be an indication of how tough a rider he is all season long, consistent, and the rest of these guys were unable to do that. So he's earned his celebration, he's earned a day off, and they're going to party it up in the Suzuki pits because these guys might win the battle, but the war has gone to the veteran Rodney Smith. No concern of that right now, though. Hawk and Lafferty only thinking about each other, and this is a very difficult section. The Klotz Cavity. A gully down here, hard enough with all the ruts and all the rocks, even worse when you mix in slower lap riders, and that's making it very tough. And Hawk is losing time as we speak with those lap riders being shoved in between he and Lafferty. The rest of the field trying to peek their way through. I think that is Blackwell. No, that's Woodford, and he has actually gotten around Andrews. Now back onto a little bit easier section of track, but now you see the lap traffic really starting to pile up. They will make any part of the racetrack difficult. Lafferty into that pit. Getting hard to make a hard right-hand corner. Hawk not letting him off the hook. Meanwhile, Josh McLeavy, we hear, is out of the race.
Hi, we're here in the Throttlehead.com Kawasaki pits. Josh McLeavy. A lot of consistent rides lately. What's the problem here?
Unfortunately, today there's a lot of water crossings, and a couple of water crossings I was riding a little too aggressive, and I think we got a bunch of water in the fuel, and then I fell over, flopped over real easy once, and something's grounding out, I think, in the electrical system. So we're having a little trouble keeping it going today.
Well, that's understandable. This track is very, very gnarly, and it's hard to get a machine to last 3 hours under any conditions, especially when you're going as fast as these guys are. Back to the pits. These riders don't have radio contact with their crew members. Mike Lafferty's mechanic, Alan Rand.
Alan Rand, mechanic for our race leader, Mike Lafferty. We haven't seen Mike up here in a long time. Welcome back.
Yeah, he had an injury, knee injury earlier in the year. Kind of struggled with that for a while. Rode a few races, but wasn't feeling up to par, and he likes cool temperatures and soft conditions. We have that today. He's having fun and up front.
His course really seems to be lending itself to Mike's style. I know he's really good at figuring out terrain, fresh trail, like an enduro.
Yeah, he really likes not to have a trail that's completely beat in, that you have some options. It's a little slippery. You can have some technique to get away from your competitors.
He's running well now. Can you expect him to hold on 3 hours? He hasn't had to run this pace this long all year long. Can he do it today?
Yeah, I expect so. I don't see a problem. I mean, he's running with Barry, and I mean, Barry, he's the king, you know. So, I mean, he's going to have a hard fight there, but I think he can hang on.
Well, they sure hope so. Now we're going to try to hang on to Lafferty with our Yamaha Rhino cam. We've got a camera bolted to the side of our 660 Yamaha Rhino. But even with that kind of power, having a tough time keeping up with Lafferty, he is so good in this section, like a skier, like a slalom skier, dancing in and out of these trees, and you hear him just touching the throttle on that KTM. So smooth, so consistent, wasting no energy and not making any mistakes. And he's making it very hard for Hawk in second place to try to catch him because he's not making any mistakes, not wasting energy, not slowing down. Now Hawk has to deal with the lapped rider. And boy, he's kind of wish he had a horn on that Yamaha right now, trying to get that guy out of the way. But we skip into the woods, and lo and behold, Hawk has taken over the lead. Barry Hawk has taken the lead, at least momentarily. It's so back and forth out here, you don't know how long these guys are going to be able to hold on. Lafferty must have made a mistake, and Hawk is able to pounce right on it. 2 laps to go, and Hawk has actually extended it now over Lafferty. He's got to be smelling blood, thinking maybe Lafferty got tired, maybe that mistake has frustrated Lafferty. Either way, Hawk is on the gas and trying to pull away. This is an electronic scoring system. They scan a barcode on the side of their helmet, and that's how we calculate the results. And what it says is that Hawk is pulling away, but now we skip further ahead, and Lafferty's got the lead back again. What a battle between these two. It's a private war. The Suzuki guys are gone. We actually have a report that Andrews has crashed and caught his arm under a log, and he is pulled out of this one. So into this very, very treacherous Moose Gulch, very little room to maneuver. It's just these two in a private duel for the final win of the year. Let's check out our Yamaha leaderboard, and we'll go to break. It's Lafferty, Hawk, Woodford, Blackwell, and Steve Hatch rounding out your top 5, and we'll be back for the conclusion right after this. Welcome back. It's Grand National Cross Country action, and there is your GNCC champion and your race leader. Barry Hawk out of Pennsylvania is out front, but it has been very back and forth all day. You see right behind him is Mike Lafferty, and they are pinning the throttle through those trees. One mistake there, and they're going home in the ambulance. If they hit one of those trees, it's going to hurt bad. Here is Doug Blackwell. He has tried everything in his power to catch those 2 guys out front, but he just cannot seem to get that gap down to where he can see them. And that's what you need to do. You need to see the guys to get motivated to push, because it is late in this game and everybody's got to be fatigued. They've got to be tired, and you've got to dig down deep for motivation. Here's the number 7, Throttlehead.com Kawasaki of Steve Hatch. Hatch, coming off of some injuries, has got to be happy about running in the top 5. Of course, the real question is our leaders, and here it is. Another change for the lead. Lafferty on that 4-stroke just tractoring up this hill. Hawk trying to stay with him, trying to figure out where the fast lines are. Where can he set him up for one more pass to try to win this one? Now here's Woodford, who we heard is now in the number 3 position. Woodford keeping his momentum up, going up that hill very, very quickly, but he might not have enough time to use it to get to the leaders. Look at Blackwell, how much he struggles. Blackwell, an excellent rider in technical conditions like this, and he still struggles to get up that hill. That's how tough it is out there. You see a little bit of mud at the bottom of this hill climb. That mud drags up the hill. It makes it very slippery. Then we got some rocks at the top. There's so much to worry about. Right now, we're worried about trying to get our Yamaha Rhino up to speed and keep up with Mike Lafferty. Hawk not far behind. Lafferty is very happy to get in this section. This is one of his fastest sections on the track. He is so good at weaving in and out of these trees, and he needs something like this to get the pressure off his back. There's so many obstacles to keep in mind out here. Corners, ruts, whoops, jumps, rocks, and he needs something to keep Hawk back there. Lafferty cannot focus on the track and the rider behind him at the same time. You get tired mentally when you have that many things to focus on. Well, he knows what to focus on now. We're going to have 1 lap to go, and we are into the pits for the last time. And Hawk, you see him out of the corner of the screen. Barry Hawk is actually pulled in for gas, and this is the opportunity Lafferty needed. He needed to get the pressure off. It's off now. Let's go talk to Barry Hawk's mechanic and find out why he stopped for gas.
Here at Dale Stigall, you're filling mechanic for Barry today, but things are working out really well.
Sure, Doug's the mechanic. His wife just had a baby, and I'm trying to help him out a little bit today, but we had to gas there on that last lap, and Michael got out a little bit, so maybe he can run him down. We'll see what happens.
Well, traditionally, Barry really strong late in the race. Or this, you think the position he wants to be in, just breathing down somebody's neck late in the game?
I don't think so. You want to be leading anytime you can. I'm sure he'd rather be out front, but hey, he's a good guy. He'll put his head down, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, he's put his head down now. We are on the last lap, and Hawk has eaten up that gap that Lafferty had. There's nothing left on the table now. Everything you've got, cash in your chips. Wide open through those fields, into the woods. Hawk all over Lafferty. Who wants it worse? Look at Hawk trying to work inside, trying to work outside. He tried to make that pass before they get into the woods. It's a lot harder to pass in these tight trees. Lafferty knows it. Lafferty did what he had to do. but he's got to deal with lappers now, and that's going to make it tough. Hawk putting pressure on from behind. Lappers slowing him up from the front. They stop at his checkpoint, and look at Hawk. Hawk getting hung out to dry. Almost lost it right there. If he had been pushed over that berm with that lapper, it would have been all over. We skip ahead now, and look at this. Hawk has taken over the lead. A phenomenal athlete able to step up late in a 3-hour endurance contest and pick up the pace. Lafferty has not backed off 1 inch. You've got to wonder, does he have a spot picked out? Does he have enough time to make the move on Hawk? The only thing he can count on now is a mistake, and look at how deep those ruts are. Hawk able to get through it, but if he puts 1 foot peg down in one of those ruts, he can hang the bike up and give the lead right back to Lafferty, and that's what Lafferty has to count on. He held the lead for the majority of this race. You don't want to give it up down the stretch, but Barry Hawk doesn't carry that number 1 plate. He carries it for a reason, and he does not give races away in this situation. Lafferty has got to dig down deep. He's got to try to put the pressure on and try to force Hawk into making an error. They're into the trees. Lafferty on that 4-stroke. He needs all the horsepower he can get because Hawk is all the way into the pit area. He gets the pit board from his mechanic. He nods his head. He's happy about the way things have gone. Lafferty going to try a last-ditch effort, looking to put his head down. Maximum horsepower, maximum overdrive, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He put together a phenomenal run, but it won't be enough to stop Barry Hawk out of Smithfield, Pennsylvania from winning the Ironman GNCC, and he is happy. He's got to give up his championship plate today, but he does go out on top. Lafferty, nothing to be ashamed of. He led the majority of this one. He put together a great run, but just not enough to hold back the spectacular Barry Hawk. And there is third, a hard-earned third for Chuck Woodford. We check out our leaderboard here. 10th place is D.R. Atwood, an amateur rider. Great ride by him. Charlie Mullins, the rookie, in 9th, and Cole Calkins, another young rider, in 6th. Great riding by those guys. Hatch, Blackwell, Woodford, Lafferty, and Hawk. That rounds it out. Let's talk to our winners.
Yeah, I think I'm back on track. I'm riding good, just having fun.
It didn't sound like you had to push hard today at all, just like you did a couple weeks ago.
No, I just kind of rode a comfortable speed all day long and more or less just rode as if I wasn't even in a race. I kept throwing myself on the ground, and back in the back of my mind, I knew it was costing me as far as a chance to win today. So, I'd make a mistake and I'd fall or crash or do something stupid, and then I'd get going again and just kind of forget all about it and not really let it get to me and just keep on plugging away and just keep riding. And I'd pass a couple guys and then make another mistake, and then, I'd fall and get back up, and I'd pass a few more guys, and it just kind of went that way all day. And then finally I kind of fell into a groove. Might not have been the fastest I was going all day, but at least I was keeping it on 2 wheels, and everything went good from there. My factory connection Kawasaki was really working good. My hat's off to my crew. They did a great job. A couple gas stops were great. Everything went good.
Well, Mike Lafferty, welcome back. It's been a long time since we saw you up here in the box at GNCC.
Yeah, things worked well. My KTM 400 is getting back in the swing of things, and so am I. It's just actually the bike's been there. I just needed to ride it. So thanks to Al for prepping it for me and getting it all ready and putting the time and effort into all this, so we can finish off on a high note.
I'll take us through this race today. It was really you and Barry back and forth all day. It was a good race.
Yeah, you know what? Riding with Barry was so much fun. We had a great time together. One of us would pick a better line and take it, and we'd charge as hard as we could, and the other guy kind of follow a little bit. But I put my head down and rode as hard as I could. I wanted to win. I really wanted to win. I didn't want to settle for anything less, and I just came up with smidge short.
Now take us through that last lap. You had the lead going into that one. What changed?
There was one hill that I was concerned about, and I got up that one okay, and he followed me. And then I went up another small one that I really didn't pay attention to. I knew I had a good line in it. I took the same line, and I got hung up in it. It got really deep. And Barry just chopped out of it and went a different way and just pulled enough just to get away from me out of sight a little bit. And I put my head down, tried to charge back. He was riding well.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy with getting 3 wins in a row, and really happy with the last 2 races. I've ridden in 2005, and we've already got it dialed in working better than the 2004. So not that the 2004 was bad, but the 05 is just better. And really looking forward to next year. We got a lot of homework already done, and just start next year and do as good as we can, and just ride every race to our best ability, and hopefully we can come out with a championship.
That's a nice sportsman-like move. Last year, Rodney had to give his number 1 plate to you, and this year you give it right back to him.
Yeah, Rodney's a great guy. I've always looked up to him. I remember being back a rider and going to his house back in California in '97. I really couldn't even hardly talk around him. He just always looked up to him, and I still do. He's a good guy and a great champion, and I really can't take anything away from him. He had an awesome year, and look forward to going to Texas next year in February and starting out with everybody with a clean slate, and come back and stay healthy and try and get a championship back for myself, Yamaha, and all the sponsors that's been with me.
Well, turnabout is fair play. Last year, Rodney Smith gave a #1 plate to Barry Hawk. This year, Barry Hawk gives it back. Hawk's happy to have won the Ironman, but Rodney Smith is even happier to be the 2004 Grand National Cross Country Champion, and it was a very hard-earned title. Don't let the smile on his face fool you now. It was some gritting of the teeth to get to this point. Chuck Woodford and Mike Lafferty were second and third today. They've got nothing to be ashamed of as well, and now they get to celebrate. It's time to pop the champagne. Of course, it's not just about pro racing up here. GNCC Racing has classes for amateurs on motorcycles and ATVs of all ages and all skill levels. Check out GNCCRacing.com for more information on it. The 2005 season begins in February in Texas, and we hope you can join us there. If not, join us on GNCC TV. We're so glad you could be with us today. For Racer Productions and everyone that produces GNCC Racing, I'm Jason Wygant. So long, everybody.